F-O-R-D.
It's the Ford Show! Ford Motor Company of Australia presents the Ford Show Orchestra with Joan Clark, Ross Higgins, Jimmy Parkinson, and the Consoleers, while the man at the wheel is yours truly, Guy Dolan. Big night on the Ford Show tonight. Later on, we'll be announcing the winner of the £500 Ford Award.
Some simple facts from Ford. If all the vehicles distributed in this country by Ford Australia were parked end to end, they'd form a wall 1,000 miles long. They'd stretch from Brisbane to Townsville. That's a vast distance. But 1 in every 6 vehicles registered in Australia today is Ford-built. This nationwide acceptance is gratifying because Ford was the first motor manufacturer to invest heavily in Australia's future. The first Ford plant in this country opened at Geelong 30 years ago. Now there are other big factories in Sydney, Adelaide, Brisbane, Fremantle, and Ballarat. Watch the Fords go by. 1 vehicle in every 6 is Ford-built. This proves that Ford-built cars, commercials, and trucks are right in design, right in price, and right on the job.
What was the year? In this year, Tsar Nicholas of Russia and his entire family were assassinated by the Bolsheviks. On the other side of the world, a momentous comedy event took place. Charles Chaplin formed his first film unit, which was to produce such successes as The Kid, The Gold Rush, and many others. In this year, most sporting events were still in abeyance, but the Melbourne Cup was run as usual. The winner being Night Watch. An evergreen favorite, Smilin' Through, was first heard in this year, and as Ross Higgins sings it now, can you remember the year?
There's a little brown road winding over the hill to a little brown cot by the sea. There's a little green gate at whose trellis I wait, while 2 eyes of blue come smiling through at me. There's a gray lark or 2 in the brown of the hair. There's some silver in mine too, I see. But in all the long years, when the clouds brought their tears, those 2 eyes of blue kept smiling through at me. And if ever I'm left in this world all alone, I shall wait for my call patiently. But if heaven be kind, I shall wait there to find those 2 eyes of blue still smiling through at me.
What was the year? 1918. We introduce the managing director of Ford Motor Company of Australia, Mr. Charles A. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Dahlman, and good evening to our friends of the Ford Show throughout Australia and to members of our armed forces abroad. Ford Australia launched the Ford Award Popular Songwriting Competition just over 6 months ago and provided £500 in prize money for the 3 composers whose songs are placed first, second, and third by an independent panel of judges. Our panel consisted of Mr. R. Wills, Record Sales Manager of the EMI Australia Proprietary Limited, Mr. B. Irons, Professional Manager, Chappell and Company Limited, and Mr. C. Vaughan Smith, Manager, Southern Music Publishing Company Proprietary Limited. These adjudicators have had a difficult task because of the continuous flow of manuscripts from every state and the consistently high standard of interest. Through the medium of the Ford Show, we wanted to give Australian composers an opportunity to have their works arranged, performed under conditions comparable with those enjoyed by overseas composers. We believe we have obtained this with the aid of Mr. Bob Gibson and the Ford Show Orchestra, and from the large number of entries, original and unpublished songs have already been broadcast in a series of 3 heats. These heat winners are already known, but tonight you are to hear the judges' decision as to the actual awards of the first, second, and third places. Because of the truly Australian character of the Ford Award competition, we feel it is appropriate that our guest star for this evening, who are so well known to Australian radio audiences, should make the presentations to these talented Australians on our behalf. And now I am sure both the studio audience and the vast audience of the Ford Show Network will join with me in thanking our many participants and extending to the winners our sincere and heartiest congratulations.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, to present the prizes in the 1955 Ford Award, here is Australia's #1 radio personality and tonight's guest of Ford, Jack Davey.
Hi-ho, everybody, and it's nice to be here, and I'm very proud that I've been selected to do this. It's a great honor. For a start, I so firmly believe in anything like this. I think it's so important to music generally in Australia to have somebody get behind it and look for that talent that is really everywhere in this country. In America, they've got songwriters around every corner. Here, probably got them around every second corner. We're a young country. But they're there just the same, and they can write very, very well indeed. And so to the third award winner in the Ford Award of 1955 for a very lovely song, Night. Over from Toorak, Victoria, I'd like you to meet Mr. Will Pryor. Right up close, Will.
Good evening, Mr. Davey.
Little nervous?
Well, yes, just a little. It's a big occasion.
It certainly
Very
is.
big occasion.
Well, we heard just a little tidbit of your number, but enough to make us pretty anxious to hear more.
Well, thank you very much.
And let's hear how you did it all in the first place.
Well, this particular song, the story behind it, if you can call it a story, was that I submitted some stuff to an American organization, some material, and a music editor on the staff there wrote back saying, saw your stuff. He was complimentary in a couple of instances and said, what you need is to story it just a little more. Give it more storyline.
This
So-
was the little outside help, perhaps, that you had. That was something you needed.
It was a kind gesture on his part, I thought, because often you don't even get a word, just that very cold note, no thank you. This time he wrote back saying that he thought, that if I did this, I might be on the right line. So I did story a song. I got an idea under the title of Night, and I built the whole lyric around a story, the story of the night, the romance, and how the night tells its story.
Are you a married man?
No, I'm a single man.
Well, a song like this, if it hits the top, and it could, might do a lot for you, you know. It's amazing, because I think there's a certain amount of romance in songwriting, particularly with a title like Night. You've written other songs?
Ah, yes, quite a few.
What do you do for a living?
Well, I am an assistant producer with a rival organization.
We won't talk about that. Then I can safely say this is the first song that you've had published.
This will be the first song I've had published, yes.
First time you've heard a song of yours with a big orchestra like this magnificent one playing it for you?
Yes, it's the first time I've really had that wonderful thrill, and I'm very grateful to Ford for the opportunity, believe me.
Well, here's an opportunity that you haven't had. You're going to hear now a very lovely little lady sing your song for you, as everybody else is. They're all waiting. And so let's hear Night, sung for you by Joan Clark.
Thank you.
Lost in moonglow, who wandered to a dell and found a wishing well, and wished that their true love would last forever. The moon saw them sailing. The stars were a witness to each love vow. The story isn't new, but every word is true, and who can tell it better than the night?
Mr. Pryor, that was grand, and thank you, Joan Clark. Well, that's something. And you can't get away with doing something as well as that without getting something pretty good for it.
No, I'd like to thank Joanie Clark, too. I think she did a wonderful job.
She really did. That's a nice number. And now, Guy Dolman, would you be so good as to bring me this check? Thank you. Doesn't look much from here. But inside that is your check as third award winner in the 1955 Ford Award. Congratulations again, Mr. Will Pryor, and I think you'll go a long way.
Thank you, Mr. Davey, and thanks again to the Ford Company.
How good is the number? How good is the song? It's so hard to tell. So really difficult to tell because what one likes, another doesn't. And so it goes on. If that weren't so, there'd only be one song in the world. But we've got so many. Let's hear another one. But first, let's meet the person who wrote it. And here's a little lady from Hawthorne. Come in, Barbara Macaulay. Barbara, a beautiful song, Please Don't Be Impatient with Me. I've heard it. I'm pretty lucky. I had a little sneak preview. But we'd like to hear a little more about it and how you wrote it. Now, you've got prowess in many fields, not only a songwriter, but I think you represented Australia in the British Empire Games last year.
Yes, Mr. Davey, that's right.
Well, I don't know how you dive. I haven't seen you, but I've heard your voice. You'll have to improve on that a little more. You are our high diving champion.
Yes, that's right.
There's no need to keep this a secret. You can tell everybody. I'm sure they're glad to hear it. And this song, I understand you wrote it when you were at the British Empire Games.
Yes, as a matter of fact, it happened one night after training.
One night after training?
Yes.
You can be more explicit.
Well, I just finished training,
Yes.
and I was just walking home from the pool to the quarters where we were staying. It was only about 10 minutes away, and it just happened.
Just like that.
Yes.
I must go into training. Was this written especially for somebody?
Well, actually, this one wasn't, but it sounds as if it was, but it wasn't.
It sounds like it could be dedicated to the tax department, actually. The only song you've written?
No, I've written quite a few, Mr. Davey.
Quite a few.
Yes.
You're not going to give away your sporting prowess and for songwriting. You're going to wait until you do a few more things with it first.
Oh, well, I've got another year or so of diving left in me, I think.
I thought maybe you wrote this song as you went into a high dive.
Well, actually, I'd be pretty good if I did, because it only takes about 2 seconds to reach the water from the high dive.
It does? Well, there you go. You see, Irving Berlin apparently wrote his best number going into a low dive. So it's just a matter of surroundings. All right, Barbara, we'll all relax because we want to hear this second prize-winning number. Please don't be impatient with me and a boy who'll make a grand job of it, Ross Higgins.
If I seem a little sad and lonely, please don't be impatient with me. And if I seem a little melancholy, try to understand and let me be. For I lost the one I loved to another's charms. All I have is a broken dream to hold in my arms. So if I seem a little sad and lonely, please don't be impatient with me.
Well, hell, how did that sound, Barbara?
Oh, it sounded beautiful.
Isn't it nice?
Yes.
Isn't it a
arrangement
thrill?
was lovely, and it was sung beautifully.
So you're happy.
Very happy.
Well, you should be happy because you've got a nice prize coming to you in a moment. I see you've put them down now, but the Ford company gave you that beautiful bouquet of flowers.
Yes, they were a beautiful bouquet, and there's one in the hotel room, too.
There was?
I'm very grateful. Yes.
This has been a pretty happy trip.
Oh, yes.
Well, we hope that you're as successful, or even more successful, we hope, in the Olympic Games that are coming up pretty shortly. We hope you acquit yourself as well as you did before. We'll be looking forward to hearing lots of things coming from you, and not the least of them, music. Thank you, Guy. I'd like you to accept this on behalf of the Ford Motor Company. It's the second prize. There's a check in there for you, Barbara, for the second prize winner in the Ford Award of 1955.
Thank you very much, Mr. Davey.
Thanks and good luck.
Can I say thank you to someone else? I want to say thank you very much to the Ford Company for the opportunity they've given songwriters in Australia.
That's very kind of you to say that, and I'm sure everybody feels the same way. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you. Well, time moves on, and so do we. Getting a little exciting now, because here comes something that's, well, it's the top, and when it's the top, it's the top. This time it was so good that it took 2 people to do it. From Victoria. We have 2 people, one from West Brunswick, the other from Elwood. Mrs. Sylvia Aspinall and Mr. Frederick, or, as his friends know him, Mr. Eric O'Brien. I notice Guy Dolman always gets the nice jobs, bringing up these beautiful bouquets of flowers that have been handed to you. Nervous at all?
Yes, I am.
You are? And how about you, Mr. O'Brien?
Just the same, nervous too.
Nervous? It's a funny thing because this is a night you shouldn't be nervous. You should be proud. You should be happy because it's a big night. Now let's hear the story. Who wrote the words?
Mrs. Aspinall wrote portion, I wrote portion of them.
And who wrote the music?
I wrote practically all the music.
And Mrs. Aspinall was just your guiding star.
Well, there was phrases which we couldn't fit, which we rang up each other on the telephone all hours of the morning.
Oh, I see. So actually...
And we worked together on that principle.
So actually this is written by yourself?
Yes.
Mrs. Aspinall in the PMG's department.
That's right.
Yes, during that time our telephone accounts went up sky high, but it has been worth it.
I see. It's worthwhile. Well, I'm sure it's worth it because here comes Di Goldman with something that, although you get as much kick out of writing the song even if you did it for nothing, it's because this prize is there and you won it, this first prize, that I think makes you even a little prouder still. But the mere fact that you've written a song that people will be singing pretty shortly, and I'm sure they will, must make you pretty proud. I think one hand on this each, because you must share and share alike.
Thank you, Mr. Davey.
And that is yours. That's first prize in the 1955 Ford Award for a very beautiful song, Could I Depend on You? And to sing it, here is Jimmy Parkinson.
When I'm feeling lonesome and weary, finding all the world is blue, when I'm needing sympathy and loving, could I depend on you? And when I wake to find it is raining, and it rains the whole day through, would I get that kiss to warm and cheer me? Could I depend on you? Love is a gamble always. Everyone must take a chance. Two people meet, are happy, while there is still romance. But promises may sometimes be broken. Everybody knows that's true. Would I have your love forever, darling? Could I depend on you?
When I am feeling lonesome and weary, finding all the world is blue,
would I have your love to help and cheer me?
could I depend on you? And if I wake to find it is raining, and it rains the whole day through,
Would I get that kiss to warm and cheer me?
could I depend on you?
Love is a gamble always. Everyone must take a chance. Two people meet, are happy, while there is still romance.
But promises may sometimes be broken. Everybody knows that's true.
Would I have your love forever, darling?
When skies are gray and all the world seems upside down, my darling,
Could I depend
tonight, you have heard the 3 Ford Award-winning songs. That last one, number 1, was awarded a check of £350. For number 2, please don't be impatient with me, a check of £100. And for number 3, the first one you heard, Night, a check of £50. I'm a little unhappy to say that so much of this music came from Victoria, but I'll give you the reason. The judges did not see any titles, nor did they see any names. They listened purely and simply to the music as played to them, and they selected the numbers on the merit. It so happened that a very vast percentage of the numbers did come from Victoria. Well, New South Wales, it's time you woke up a little. You better do something about it. Let's get busy. And after all said and done, you don't have to get too busy to write a song. I had a couple of minutes this afternoon not doing anything. So between a cup of tea and the biscuit, I just managed to churn out something that might keep the New South Welshman's end up a little. And with the help of the very nice quartet and the very nice orchestra and a deep breath, let's hear something that I wrote myself, and it's not hard. It's called I've Got a Yen for Gwen. My inspiration was this. I met a girl called Mary. It just goes to show you, you need no combination.
Oh, I've got a yen for Gwen, and I've had it since gosh knows when. She's a baby that's tops, and just everything stops when I get that yen for Gwen. I used to think Kate was great, but whenever we had a date, I'd be spending my dough, and the answer was no, so I shut the gate on Kate.
Now Sadie's a lady, Nellie's so swell, and Ruby's the gem of them all. Netter is better, but no one can get her.
But she's got so much on the board, so I'll keep my yen for Gwen. She hasn't got much, but then what little she's got, she just gives me the lot. And she's the kind of dame that sets your heart aflame. Gwen's got a yen for men, but then I've got a yen for Gwen. Oh, I got a yen for Gwen, and a fiver will get you 10. That's the day that I find I'm the marrying kind. I'm going to say when to Gwen. I used to think Gert was pert, but that kind of a skirt can hurt. She would act very rough. I don't go for that stuff, so I did the dirt on Gert.
My diner is finer, Jean is so clean, and Pearl the most priceless of all. Sonny's the honey, but she wants your money.
And Tess is so terribly tall, so I'll keep my yen for Gwen. Why I do is beyond all ken. She may not be a plum, she's as dumb as they come, but she's the one I choose, 'cause I'd have less to lose. Men don't like Gwen, but Gwen likes men, so I've got a yen for Gwen. I've got a yen for Gwen.
This week, the Ford Show featured the winners of the 1955 Ford Award, guest star Jack Davey, the Ford Show Orchestra with Joan Clark, Ross Higgins, Jimmy Parkinson, the Consoleers, and your Master of Ceremonies, Guy Dalton. The Ford Show is produced and directed by Darcy Fitzgerald. David Lowe speaking.
A reminder, too, David, that the Ford Show will be back again at the same time next week, presented by Ford Motor Company of Australia. The Ford Show is broadcast over an Australia-wide network to our armed forces in the Far East through the British Commonwealth Forces Network and on shortwave through Radio Australia. Until the same time next week, it's good night from
F-O-R-D.
And remember, wherever you go, wherever you are, watch the Fords go by.